I would hope that Clark and Manfred meet again today and they come out with some sort of announcement and announce that there's going to be a restart of baseball, hopefully somewhere in the middle of July now.
Yeah, I just want to know how far apart on the number of games they are to make me feel better or worse about this, because 60 games is what we're hearing. Players apparently want more. Do they want 10 more? Do they want 20 more? I mean, if you told me that it was the difference between 60 and 70, then okay, bang, we're 65, let's go, somewhere near there, and then everybody is happy. But, if the players are still asking for something like half a season at full prorated pay, then this is not something that is going to happen. It's too late now for that anyway.
Right, that's not going to happen now. Based on a 60-game schedule, this is from Darren Ravel again. At full prorated salaries, this is like what he's saying. He's not even saying how much the teams have lost. 9 players will lose at least $20 million in salary this year because they're not playing 162 games. So they're all losing $20 million. What are the actual teams losing on a daily basis, not having any cash flow coming in? You tell me. It's got to be 10 times that.
Oh, sure, easy. I mean, and we're talking gate concessions, TV contracts. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. I mean, the amount of money that is not coming in, and I don't like the lost money thing either, because that to me is, it's a little bit different for the players and owners. I mean, maybe you want to say because there's no games, you feel like it's lost money for a business, but if you're not doing anything really, I mean, how could you lose the money? I mean, I don't know. But it's a business where you have guys in there who are not going to be out in the street tomorrow if they have these massive pay cuts. If anything, there's a far more majority of MLB players who are going to welcome the salaries that do come in during this 60-game season. That'll be thrilled to get that money as opposed to not get a cent the rest of the year to be able to set themselves up from a better position of negotiating for the next CBA. I bet you there's a lot of guys that don't even care about that right now that are saying, hey, I'm not getting paid anymore. I can't imagine what's going to happen if I stop getting paid, period. I mean, there's many guys who are at the league minimum, and yeah, it's a lot of money still, but not everybody plans for just all of it to evaporate at once. So there will be plenty of players that are absolutely thrilled, not only to get out there and play, but to get that paycheck again that ran dry a couple weeks ago.
And because there will be no fans, that means, the vendors that work in these stadiums throughout the summer all the way into September do not have jobs. There's nobody. There's no beer vendor walking down. Hey,
right.
Hey. No, none of that. No hot dog guy. None, those people that get paid, as part-timers during the season.
Security and the people in front of the stadium.
I mean, there may be security still there, but I as far as that other part of baseball, that still is not. Those people are not coming back, man. Those they're just not if they're not going to have fans. Maybe in Texas they will if they decide to have fans, although. They're having, another spike there, just like they're having another spike down in Florida. I also saw a couple of people, sports writers, writing about how is the NBA going to Florida? They're having spikes there now. How are they going to bring the whole entire league right into a state that is all of a sudden seeing more COVID-19 cases, than any time before this? That's a whole another thing. There seems to be like this. I don't know what's going on with the NBA. I really don't know. I mean, it's just.
Well, what do you mean? Like, what questions are running around in that head of yours? See if I can answer them, which I probably won't be able to.
All right. So, testing's up. Of course, positive tests are going to be up down in Florida. Hospitalizations are up down in Florida. All these things are facts. We all know this. Mm-hmm. Where does the NBA want to go and play their games?
Well, Disney World in Orlando.
Right, so maybe 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, that looked like a really good plan. Now, as people are starting to look at different things and watching how things are transforming a little bit in Florida, now all of a sudden you start hearing, well, it may not be safe. It may not be safe. And this is coming from, writers who cover the sport. Who knows who they're talking to, where they're getting, their facts and figures from. But there is a negative feeling out there about restarting in Florida now for the NBA. I can't.
Yeah, but they're in a bubble, man, right? Like, isn't that the whole point of this thing, is that they're in a bubble? Now, you want to tell me that Disney itself, who they want to open soon. I forget what the date is, but it was right around the corner, and the general public is in there, sneezing all over the teacups. I mean, that's a different story. But we're talking about the NBA players that are in this hotel practice facility, seeing the same people every single day, getting tested every other day situation. What does it matter? If they don't go out to, like, some bar around the general public and then start dancing with strangers, then I think they should be okay, right? I mean, isn't that the whole point of isolating them in the way that they're isolating them?
It is. No, it is. Don't yell at me. I'm just telling you what I've read.
Well, I want to yell, man.
What I'm starting to feel, I'm starting to feel like a little, and I don't, and then you get the whole Kyrie Irving thing going on. There's always an impediment. There's always a speed bump. There's always a pothole. And I think you and I have said this from the beginning, way back when all of this started, and we were out of the studios and we were having our Saturday shows and all that stuff. We were talking about however these leagues come back, we really cannot criticize what the plans are simply because this is unheard of. This is a pandemic. This has stopped everything worldwide.
Sure.
And these men are trying to make decisions about their leagues and about how they can restart their leagues, award their championship, get their sponsorship money, pay their players, pay their employees, make all the pension, contributions, pay all the taxes, pay everything. And they're trying to figure out the best way to do that. And we said, and I want to try to hold true to this, is not to criticize whatever the plan is coming back. And I thought the NBA and the NHL came back with great plans. We still have to see what Major League Baseball's plan looks like, but it sounds like it's going to be somewhere between 60 and 70 games with full proration for the players, so they'll get their money. But there's going to be teams that are going to lose a ton of dough this year. And it's just there's the reality of it, and maybe they'll borrow against their Forbes valuations, and maybe they'll be able to borrow some more money to keep things going until next year. And then next year, will there actually even be a season? We're 9 months away from opening day of next year.
Yeah, let me tell you about this baseball season, though. If it does happen in the way that we're hearing with the 60 games and the 16 playoff teams and this sprint to the finish, I think it's going to be awesome. I mean, how could you, every single inning, you're going to be locked in. Every game is going to feel like the most important game. I mean, as long as you can separate the fact, which I guess a lot of people can't because this has been difficult for them, that this is different than your regular baseball season, and history will treat it as that. I mean, you're not going to take your kid to the Hall of Fame and then say, like, all right, this champion is the same as the others. Of course it's not. It's going to be different. But there's going to be books written about this. They'll probably send to the station I'll ignore 10 years from now. But there's going to be books written about this. There's going to be, this is going to be a time in history for the game that will be talked about forever. It's going to be awesome. And it's going to suck for teams that are out of it immediately. Because, like, let's say, God forbid the Mets and Yankees get off to like a 3-4 game losing streak at the beginning of the season or more, then you feel like they have no shot in a 60-game season. But, I mean, everybody's going to be locked in because of the importance of these games.
But 16 playoff teams allows for some losing. Right. So then you can, turn it on or get it going a little bit later on in the season. But
baseball is exhausting, man. Like, let's get real. As much as we love it, like, by the time we get to like July and August with the Mets and Yankees, especially with the Yankees because they're usually so good, we're talking about October rotations in July. We're talking about if they're in the wild card game or if they're not in the wild card game. It gets exhausting. This particular season, and I'll welcome that long season again when we come back to it, of course, because that's what I'm used to. But, I mean, to have a 60-game season, it's like you can't miss it. And plus, we're going out a little bit more around New York, but a lot of people are still, not doing as many social things. I mean, this is like appointment television if you are a baseball fan in a 60-game season because, every win you feel like you're closer to a shot at a championship that maybe you never had a chance at.